My name is Chisola Chitambala. I currently run a virtual assistant company called CV Virtual Assistant, and I'm a current candidate on this year's season of The Apprentice.
Amazing. That's so exciting. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's go right back to the beginning. What does your educational journey look like?
Well, it's definitely not very linear at all. So I've had a very varied educational experience. I guess I probably should start with the fact that I actually failed my A levels, and not just once, twice. So I started my ASs at Westcliff High for Girls, which is where I went to secondary school. And I just wasn't really thriving per se at the school. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go to college and try my A levels there. And I did a few different A levels. I did biology, chemistry, and maths at college. And yeah, just flunked them all. And then at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do in life? I've literally tried to do my A levels twice and they've just not worked out. And I don't think I really knew much about apprenticeships or the different like options that you could take or the fact that you could do some sort of diploma at college. And I think after failing twice, I was like, obviously, clearly something's not working out for me. And then I actually studied a business and finance diploma as a fast track diploma at college and actually got a distinction star. So clearly I can do it, but just something wasn't quite working with the exams and maybe just the A levels that I'd chosen, to be fair. So I did that and finished college and then went to university. But because I'd been really wanting to go down the medical nursing route, I actually went to university to study to become a pediatric nurse, which after doing the business and finance diploma, you're probably thinking, what? Like, how on earth did we end up here? But yeah, I think there was quite a lot of pressure in terms of even just from like family. And I guess I started to believe that I actually really wanted to become a doctor and go down the healthcare route. So yeah, I did my pediatric nursing, deferred after 2 years because I was really struggling with chronic migraine. And so I did defer and ended up at Nando's head office. So doing quite a lot around learning and development. And I was working as a regional trainer. So that kind of took me through like a year and a half. And that really sparked a big interest into like the world of business because I was doing so much around training managers on how to be better managers. And I'd never been a manager myself. And I was like 21 years old at the time. So there was a lot going on. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I really thrived at Nando's. But then I had to make a decision as to whether I was going to finish my nursing degree or just defer and then not complete it. But I decided to go back and finish it. And yeah, that's when I actually qualified as a nurse, worked as a nurse full time for a year, and then I was like, there's still something missing. And I went back to uni and I did my Masters of Business Administration. So that's kind of, I guess, my educational journey and experience over the last few years.
Amazing. I want to go back to can you describe the difference between A levels and a diploma?
Absolutely. I think when it came to A levels, it was very much your learning, or how I felt was you're learning information to get you through these exams. Whereas I felt with the diploma, I was actually learning like things for life. And I felt like I was really learning about how to run a business, the practical side of things, which I just don't feel like I was getting with the A levels. And maybe part of me is I actually thrive when I'm learning almost on the job, but getting information, being able to apply the practical and the theory and putting them together. And I think that was where I was then thriving.
Yeah, amazing. How did you find out about the diploma?
It was through failing my A levels the second time at college, and I was trying to explore different options. I was like, I don't want to go and do my A levels again and potentially fail for a third time. So I was just trying to speak with my different like course tutors about the different options that I would have or could have. And they kind of presented some of those to me. And one of those was this business and finance fast track diploma. I also think I didn't want to be too like far behind my peers in inverted commas. Like I guess where I'd failed them twice, I was thinking I'm already, behind my age group and the people that I'd gone to school with. And I was thinking I don't want to do something that's going to be another 2 years of study. And this was a fast track diploma, so it was only 1 year. So I felt like this was probably quite, yeah, best suited to me at that time.
I want to kind of delve into, because you're still very young and you were young when all of this was happening. So the sense of self that you must have had to be able to make these big choices for yourself and acknowledge what you're enjoying, what's good for you, and where you want to go in terms of going back and finishing your nursing degree and then switching over to business. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I think I definitely really struggled with that. I definitely found it really hard. I think trying to make decisions and, potentially life decisions at the age of like 15, 16, 17 is just so hard. And I think I definitely struggled with it. I think I was going with what I thought my parents wanted me to do. And I started to then think, okay, well, that's what my parents want me to do. So I want to do that. And actually, the science side of things, I really struggled with. And if I had kind of come to terms with that a lot quicker, potentially my journey might have looked very different. And I don't regret any part of my journey because I believe it's what made me who I am today. And it's shaped, how I've become this businesswoman. But I definitely think there was times where I thought, actually, if I had just kind of like, stuck to my guns, I think I knew that business was kind of more my forte. And actually, I really enjoyed that side of learning. And you could tell that by the results that I was getting. And that was probably with me not applying myself as much as I probably could have done. So I think yeah, I think I did struggle with it, and I think one thing that or one piece of advice that I would, tell my younger self is to just really, like, explore what you like, explore to find out different things about what you like, get that experience, shadow different people. Don't just think, "Oh, I think I like this, so I'm just gonna do it." Actually have a go, like, there's definitely ways you can network with people, reach out to people, you can use, LinkedIn, you can use Instagram now, you can use so many different platforms to just message someone and be like, I'm really interested in wanting to run my own business, or I'm really interested in being an accountant, or I'm really interested in working in construction. Can I come and shadow you for like a day or half a day? Or can I come and, see what you get up to so I could see whether it is actually something I really enjoy? And I would say that's one piece of advice I would give to my younger self. Actually get out there, network with people, and try and get some shadowing experience to actually really work out whether that's something you enjoy.
So, how did you come up with your business idea?
Great question. So I have a business partner, Natalie. So we work together. We co-founded the business together. And I think both Natalie and I were working with different companies and small startups, SMEs, doing different random ad hoc jobs for them. So whether that was helping with bookkeeping or whether that was doing some diary management or dealing with emails or inquiries for these small businesses that either were family friends or friends that we knew or friends of a friend that were like, oh my gosh, we just need an extra pair of hands. And we were like, this is clearly a thing. And when we would got talking, me and Natalie, we were like, we're both doing similar things, but for lots of different people. Why don't we actually just bring our skills together and start doing this as a business and being able to offer our services to others? And so that's, yeah, really kind of how it happened. We were at a spa day and we were talking about we were talking about the different things that we were doing, and then over sitting through watching Game of Thrones, which I'd never watched before. We were binge watching Game of Thrones. Our business idea came to life, and we were like, right, we're going to start working on this, and we did. And I think the difference between an idea and actually it coming to fruition and it becoming an actual business is putting those ideas to action. And I think a lot of times you can sit with your friend and you talk and you think, oh, that would be a great idea to do, or that would be really good. But nothing ever comes of it because neither of you take action or you just don't take action. And I think that's probably, again, one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give someone. Like, don't let, potentially the fear of failure stop you from trying. And like, actually just start. Like, and what's the worst that could happen? Like, give it a go. And you never know what that could turn into. You never know the opportunities that could come from it. And that's what we did. We kind of were like, I mean, we've never run a business ourselves, but we've been helping other people. So we're just going to go for it. We're going to start working on our website. We're going to start putting things, ideas down together. And that's what we started to do. Our evenings were spent together round, Natalie's house, working out plans and trying to put together a website. And we've never done that before. And yeah, it was really like interesting, but also great being able to do it with somebody else I think, yeah, for me, especially being somebody who'd never started a business or really run a business before, it was great having that person to bounce off ideas and we would just work together and just encourage each other. So, yeah.
Amazing. I was going to ask, what are the first steps once you want to start putting that action in place? But something as simple as make it a reality by starting a website.
Yeah, literally. I think for us, we were like, we want to be able to get trading, we want to be able to start. So I think we did a bit of research into what we could call ourselves and who does this kind of thing apart from your standard PAs. And that's where we saw obviously virtual assistants were becoming a thing. I think they've really blown up over the last few years. But I think when we were starting, which was 2022, they were still, I would say, not new, but they weren't as many. But I think post COVID, especially, lots of people that used to work up in the city as like PAs or EAs wanted to continue obviously working from home. It was great flexibility for, potentially having kids. And so we were like, oh, this virtual assistant thing seems to be like quite happening. And that's where we decided actually we could call ourselves virtual assistants. But I think the one thing I would say is we aren't just, I guess, your typical virtual assistant. We offer business support and business operational support. And I think that's probably one of our biggest value adds to teams where we can come in, support them with whether it's setting up workflows, the project management side of things, the stuff that's still quite meaty, but allows the director or business owner to focus on working on their business rather than in it. And that's what we do. We try and alleviate some of the kind of the day-to-day stuff that they're kind of getting bogged down in.
So you've kind of touched on it here and there, but those that are looking to follow in your footsteps, what advice would you give them?
The biggest piece of advice I would say is, yeah, don't let the fear of failure stop you from trying because I think that's what holds so many people back. And I think, yeah, just give it a go. Just try. Like, don't allow that to stop you from trying an idea that you might have. And I think the other thing is what I was alluding to earlier, which is, networking, getting experience in potentially whatever it is that you want to go into, whatever field you want to go into. I genuinely truly believe that your network is your net worth. And I think we hear that a lot. But I think we hear that a lot in a sense of you could go and let's say shadow someone who works in the industry that you want to be in. And they could then really take a liking to you and actually then offer you a job or offer you an apprenticeship or offer you a scholarship to, those kind of things. They could offer you something that you never would have experienced by not necessarily putting yourself out there. So I would say, I think putting yourself out there by networking and contacting people, like sometimes you're gonna keep getting no's, you're gonna get rejections, but don't let that stop you from keeping on going. Because eventually you'll have that person that will take a chance on you, and you never know where you could end up from that.
Brilliant.
Mm.
When you're starting a business, you're probably going to need some form of like financial backing. So, how did you guys navigate that? And is it about approaching investors, or do you just take your savings and put that into your startup?
That's a good question. I think depending on the type of business that you're trying to start will depend on what you're, I guess, going to need and look for financially. I think if you're thinking about a product, or because we obviously run a service, but if you're thinking about product, I think the first thing and one of the best things that you could do is, yeah, I guess create an MVP, which is your most viable product, and that's kind of your user test base, and you're trying it out. And I think you've got to invest some of your own money to be able to do that to ensure that that product makes sense or it works. And when you've got like your test product, I think that's when you can then potentially approach investors or approach people to try and invest in your idea. But I think you before you even get to that stage, you need to have like, some sort of MVP is what I would say. I guess with us, because we're service based and we're based from home, we didn't really need much in terms of capital to start the business. And probably another reason why we could start the way in which we did. We did definitely have to invest some of our own money into just getting insurances, setting up using like CRM. So just investing in terms of the systems that we use. But actually from a big like capital investment, we didn't need like lots of money to get started, which is why we could kind of just like hit the ground running. But I would say if you are thinking about doing some sort of products, then yeah, you would need to at least try it out yourself to make sure that it is viable.
So, when we're thinking about skill sets to become an entrepreneur, what kind of thing should you be looking for?
And I think when you think about, I guess, skill sets and skills, you've got your soft skills, your hard skills that we talk about. And I think when it comes to being an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things that I would say that you need to be good at is time management because you are in charge of your day. You don't have a manager telling you, or you don't have a boss telling you, okay, you've got to be here or you've got to be doing this or you've got to submit this by this day. Like you've got to manage that yourself. And if you are not good at that, then you're not going to be able to thrive because ultimately you're not going to actually do the things that you say you're going to do or you've set out to do because you're not managing your time well. And you're not kind of you need that get up and go. And I think that also aligns with time management. So I think time management is really key and crucial. I also think, yeah, I guess leadership definitely comes into it because if, again, you're an entrepreneur, you're potentially going to be thinking about building a team and actually, like, are you going to be able to create a vision that they can, buy into, that they can align themselves with, that they feel, passionate and strongly about the same way that you do? Because that's what your role is as a leader. And I think, yeah, having strong leadership skills is definitely key. Knowing when, how and when to flex your leadership skills. And I think one of the biggest lessons I learned, especially when I was at Nando's, was learning about situational leadership and knowing that it's not, yeah, it's never a one size fits all, and knowing how to flex dependent on the situation when it comes to leadership. So I think that as well. And then I think when you're an entrepreneur, there's so many hurdles that come your way. Problem solving is key. Like, I think being able to solve a problem, being able to think on your feet, act quickly under pressure is key because that one decision you make could be vital to your business. It could be the key to getting a huge client or securing a huge client, or it could be, um, yeah, the key to potentially losing that huge client. So I think being able to problem solve, think on your feet, act really well under pressure, I think also some of the things that I would say too.
Speaking of working under pressure, what led you to apply for The Apprentice?
Oh my gosh. Do you know what? I think I've watched the show for so many years and I've never necessarily watched the show and thought, oh, I'm gonna go on there. But last year when I was watching it with my now fiance, he was like, I think you would be really good on this show. Like I think you would do so well. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And sometimes it takes somebody else almost believing in you and giving you that extra bit of confidence that you might just need. And he definitely gave me that. He was, I think you should apply. And so I thought, okay, if applications are still open, I said to him, I'll apply.
Mhm.
And they were. And I was like, damn, shot myself in the
Yeah,
foot there.
gotta commit now.
Yeah. And so that's what I did. I thought, okay, I'm going to apply. And I did. And then, we went through the different assessment stages, which are very intense, by the way. But yeah, went through the different stages and then, yeah, got the call to say that I'd made the cut. I was going to be a candidate on the next season. And I genuinely couldn't believe it because it really was me kind of not applying on a whim, but not necessarily really thinking or feeling that, yeah, this is my time to go or I'm going to do it. But yeah, it just worked out. Everything worked out for the application. And yeah, the rest is history. But yeah, it's honestly been an incredible, absolutely incredible experience. And yeah, it's definitely challenged me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when is the first time you meet Lord Sugar?
So the first time we meet Lord Sugar is actually in that first initial boardroom. So when we all go in there and he's kind of asking us a little bit about ourselves, that is the first time we meet him. So we don't meet him before then. And I remember that first boardroom, everyone was so uptight. Like I think everyone was so nervous. No one knew what to expect. And it was really like almost tense. And Lord Sugar even said like, oh, like we need to loosen up a little bit in here. He tried to crack a few jokes to get us feeling a little bit more warm and just be allowing us to be able to be the best version of ourselves. Because I think obviously when everyone's, nervous or feeling a little bit anxious, you don't get the best version of each individual. So I think by him cracking a few jokes, it did kind of help put a lot of us at ease. And I think you got, yeah, the best version of us.
Absolutely. So do you have to do lots of different takes or is it all shot in one go?
So when it comes to the boardroom, Lord Sugar's quite militant in that he doesn't really like being interrupted. So with the boardroom, we just shoot like it just goes. But when we're actually filming the tasks, we definitely sometimes have to do a few takes, especially when like there's like members of the public involved in takes. Sometimes we're doing like design work. So sometimes we do have to do a few takes of things. But in the boardroom, yeah, it's one and done.
Wow. And are you finding people are stopping you on the street now?
Yeah, I do get recognized. It's still honestly, it still feels so surreal to me that people are like, "Oh my gosh, you Chisola from The Apprentice." And I'm like, "I'm just Chisola." But yeah, people do recognize me, and I love to be able to share my story with people, and I just want to be able to be an inspiration to the younger generation, in particular girls. Helping them feel like they can spread their wings and they can do whatever it is that they want to do, and they don't have to be put into a certain box, or they don't have to stick in the same career for your whole life. I've definitely moved around quite a bit to end up where I am now. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I want to be able to continue to get that message out there.
Fantastic. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.